Okay, so you own some crypto, but you don't own Bitcoin. So you think that this upcoming Bitcoin news doesn't affect you. Well, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. So let's talk about it. This is the Hey Ed YouTube channel. I am your host, moderator, and all-around nice guy, Edward Anderson. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't construe anything that I mention in any of my videos as financial advice. Always do your own research before doing anything with your money. Today, we're going to be talking about the pending big news about Bitcoin. Now, as I'm recording this, it is January 9th, about halfway through the morning here. And so this news about the pending Bitcoin ETF approval or disapproval is imminent. It could even happen by the time you watch this video. But whether it's today or whether it's next week, it is coming up, imminently. Unless you've been on vacation for a few months, okay, you know that there's a very big event coming up centered around Bitcoin, and that is whether or not this agency is going to approve or disapprove the pending ETFs out there that have been applied for by BlackRock and several other organizations. So if you are involved at all in the crypto space, why does this affect you? Well, let's talk about that. So every asset class has its bellwethers, right? And those are the vehicles that kind of set the tone for that particular asset class. Okay. In the stock market, you have Apple, Microsoft, Google, Walmart, et cetera, right? Now, all things being equal, okay, any particular stock, or in this case, crypto, can move on its own steam, right? It'll move on its own story. But when you have an outsized event that takes place with any one of the, we'll call them generals, right? The bellwethers. Whenever you have an outsized event at one of those guys and they make a dramatic move one way or the other, they will have an influence on everything else in the asset class. I mean, we see that all the time in the stock market, right? There's an important piece of news, whether it's on a particular company or whether it's on an economic event, and your stock goes down. Well, all stocks go down. Okay, the company that you own stock in it's the same company, that day as it was the day before, right? But it goes down because of the story, because of the influence of that event. Well, in the crypto space, there's only one big bellwether, and that is Bitcoin. Now, there's a very big debate going on right now. It's about 50-50 as to whether the approval is going to happen or not, and whether there's going to be a sell on the news event or whether there's going to be a rally. Now, there's a large contingent of people who believe that regardless of whether or not the ETFs are approved or not, there's going to be a sell on the news event. Then you got the other people who say, well, it depends. Okay, so if it gets approved, we're going to have a big rally, and if it gets disapproved, it's going to sell off. So let's get a quick look at CoinMarketCap to illustrate what I'm saying to you about the effects of a bellwether. Okay, now if you look at the far right here, you'll see the charts of some of a bunch of cryptos. The top one here is Bitcoin. Now, right now, these reflect the charts in the past 7 days. Now, you'll see here that about 6 days ago, I had that big sell-off because there was an article out saying that this thing might not get approved. And you saw what happened here. All these cryptos had the same effect on that day, right? They all sold off. Now, since that day, we saw what Bitcoin has done. Bitcoin put in a bottom, and then it's been going kind of sideways. It is having a little bit of a rally right now. Most of their cryptos, though, have not really had their rally. So why is that? Why is Bitcoin looking like it's recovering a little bit, but none of the other ones are? Well, that is because Bitcoin right now has taken all the oxygen out of the room in the crypto space, right? So everyone's focused on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, I think, has a large contingent of believers who just want to own this coin ahead of the news. All the other coins, they're taking a back seat right now by the market players. So will it get approved or will they disapprove it? Well, okay, here's my take on this, okay? I do think that there is a fair chance that there will be a sell the news event, whether it gets approved or disapproved. But if the Bitcoin ETFs get approved, if there is a sell-off, it's going to be manufactured because the big ETF players, they got a lot of money to deploy. So they're going to do things, and don't tell me it's not a rigged market, okay? Listen, I've got 30 years of experience on Wall Street. I know how this stuff works. So if Bitcoin sells off, I think that's going to be a manufactured event, and you should be using that to get into Bitcoin if you have that inclination, right? If you're hoping to, that if you own Bitcoin and there is a sell-off on the news, my strong belief is that it's going to be temporary, okay? So don't panic. Don't play their game. Now, on the other hand, if the ETFs get approved and Bitcoin could absolutely rally on that news. And if that happens, you really kind of want to own Bitcoin before the event happens. On the other hand, if you want to sit on your hands and wait for the event, well, if Bitcoin starts to rally on the news, don't feel like you have to get in right away because Bitcoin has a lot of room to run. We're talking about ungodly amounts of money that's going to be dedicated for Bitcoin now. So just, as recently as 6 months or a year ago, all of these big players, they were poo-pooing Bitcoin. They're calling it a scam. I mean, you had the guy at JP Morgan said he will never buy Bitcoin, that it's a scam. Well, now JP Morgan, they've applied for a Bitcoin ETF. So the world has kind of come to terms with this, that Bitcoin is something that they have to participate in. And so there's an awful lot of money to flow into Bitcoin over the course of time here. So don't feel like you missed the boat if Bitcoin has a big rally. It has a lot further to go. It all depends on time frame. Are you just a trader for quick in and out, quick money, or do you want to set something aside for your kids' college fund or for your retirement? So decide what time frame you have. I think Bitcoin is going to be an enormous. It probably is going to see $1 million per coin, someday. So you have to decide whether you want to wait for the dip or just get in now. But don't try to trade this guy. In my opinion, you shouldn't be trading this for a quick profit. Look for the big money on this guy. But circling back to how this affects your cryptos, all the other cryptos in the space. All right, so you got to keep in mind that the entire crypto industry is still very tiny. The market cap right now of the entire crypto space is about $1.5 to $2 trillion. That's tiny. And because of that, Bitcoin, as an influencer, we'll call it, has a much more dramatic effect on the other coins in that asset class than say a Walmart would in the overall stock market, right? Because in the stock market, for example, you have many bellwethers, many big companies that could affect the mood of the market. But in the crypto space, you pretty much only have one big player, and that is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is going to set the tone, the overall tone in the crypto space. Now, once this news is behind it, once we're like a week or two into the Bitcoin news being out, things are going to settle down and your coins are going to, they're going to move up or down based on their own merits. But until then, there is a kind of a pall over the crypto space. So if you've been watching your cryptos for the past couple of weeks and they haven't been doing much of anything, that's largely because everyone is waiting to see what happens to Bitcoin. But once we get that event behind us, that question mark is going to be gone, and your crypto can go back to moving on its own merits. And also, this creates a really good opportunity for you to utilize what I refer to as the theory of relativity. This is one of those edisms that I taught in my course. So again, this is a little bit of wisdom that I can share with you from my years, on Wall Street. And I stole from Einstein a little bit there, so I'll give him full credit. But mine doesn't refer to to a Big Bang theory or anything like that. This refers to market conditions. Now, back then, I was teaching people how to trade equities, right? But this principle applies to every asset class. So I'm going to use the word stocks, but I'm applying it, but you can apply it to cryptos as well, okay? And the theory goes that whenever a stock does something other than what it should be doing, it makes that move even more significant than otherwise. What I mean by that is, let's say you have a really good piece of news out on a company. They beat their earnings or they discovered the cure for cancer or whatever. Really good news, okay? But the stock sells off on that news. Well, that's not a good sign, right? So because that tells you the stock was probably going up ahead of the news, right? Or maybe there's some other bigger consideration that affects the price of that stock. But if a stock has really bad news and the stock does not go down anymore and actually goes up, that tells you that all the bad news is built in, or there's an overriding piece of good news. So, when you're trading, whether it's stocks or cryptos or anything, there are a few considerations you always have to throw into the mix besides just looking at the chart, just looking at the story. You have to look at possible outside factors that could affect, the situation. And in the crypto space right now, the big outside potential influencing factor is this Bitcoin ETF approval or disapproval. And so what you could be doing right now is you could be looking for cryptos that actually are not going down. I mean, we have across the board, if you just saw across the board, all cryptos have, kind of done nothing or go down during this period. But if you can find a crypto that's actually been going up in the face of all this, then your crypto is fighting the trend. So if your crypto can do that well in the face of overriding, malaise in the industry, imagine how well it would do when the malaise is lifted. So what you might want to be doing right here is use this environment as kind of a way to do a little shopping. Go out there and look for cryptos that have been strong over the past couple of weeks. Maybe even, whether they're just going sideways or actually going up in the face of all this, because that's a really big feather in their cap. If they've been able to do well at a time when all the other cryptos are not, that's a pretty impressive sign. Let me give you a little example of this. Okay, let's look at a coin that I've been talking about lately, and that is Jesus coin. It's a good example of this. Okay, so again, let's take a look at CoinMarketCap and let's look at all these other. This is what these cryptos have been doing for the past week. They're all trending downward, right? Okay, so in the face of all these other cryptos not performing very well this past week, what has Jesus coin been doing? Oh, look what it's doing at the moment right now. It's having a pump right now as I'm speaking. Okay, then now this is the 15-minute chart, right? So every bar represents 15 minutes. So let's go back a little bit. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and look at the let's look at the 1-day chart. Okay, every one of these bars here represents, a day. Okay, so look what Jesus coin had been doing in the past week. Okay, so this video was not meant to be a video on Jesus coin, but it just happened to be a really good example of the theory of relativity. Okay, so Jesus coin, in the face of an overall weak crypto market, Jesus coin has had a stellar week. Imagine how well this, that coin could do when this big question mark on Bitcoin is behind it. I'm just saying, right? So, and that's not the only consideration, but it's a real good feather in its cap that it can perform that well in the face of a bad overall market. So if you're in the crypto space and you own some cryptos, but you don't own Bitcoin, so you think you don't have to worry about the Bitcoin story, you do. At least use it as a consideration, right? Just understand that your crypto might not have been doing very well the past little bit of time, not because of anything that's changed with your crypto, but because of this wet blanket that's been put over the entire crypto space over this question mark regarding this Bitcoin ETF approval. So just be a little patient. Once we get this Bitcoin ETF news behind us, then your coin can get back to business. Please like, subscribe, share, maybe hit that notification bell, and maybe even leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this. And if you want, you can even follow me on Twitter now. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.